That is quite satisfying, isn't it? You can spend hours, days, months, years even getting your position on your bike dialed in. But as soon as you swap to a new one, you feel like you're starting from scratch all over again. But 5 minutes with a tape measure will give you your critical bike measurements so you can translate your position onto any bike. Here's how to do it. Firstly, we need to get our saddle position sorted. So the industry standard is to measure from the centre of the bottom bracket axle up through the middle of the saddle rails to about 60% of the way along the saddle. Now, of course, that doesn't take into consideration your crank length and your pedal stack height. So if you're going to be swapping those, then it's a good idea to, with your crank parallel with the seat tube, measure from the pedal platform up to the top. The next critical measurement is your setback of your saddle, which is how far your saddle is set back. It's a complicated, confusing name, I know. Is you take the bike out of your work stand and then go and find a door, so you're ensuring that you've got a 90-degree angle between the floor and then a vertical surface. You then measure horizontally from the bottom bracket axle back to the door, and then from the tip of the saddle back to the door. You then subtract the top measurement from the bottom measurement to give you your setback. With our saddle in the right position, we've now got our reference point for measuring the position of our handlebars. And the first thing we need to do is to measure the drop, which is the difference in height between your saddle and your handlebars, which changes the effects of your bike from either a low rider to a low pro. Very quick and easy. You simply measure vertically downwards from the top of your handlebars down to the floor, and then from the top of your saddle down to the floor. You then subtract the first one from the second, and you've got your drop. The other way of doing it is to stick a spirit level on your saddle and then measure from the top of the spirit level down to the handlebars. Either of these is critically important, that your bike is on level ground to get an accurate measurement. Finally, you just need to check the reach, which is the distance from the tip of the saddle to the centre of the handlebars, and you just simply do it by reading off your tape measure. Now, I would just say though, if you're going to change your saddle, where you sit on different saddles does vary, so that can affect the reach, but you're not actually going to know that until you try it out on the road. So there's 4 simple measurements that will allow you to transfer your position from one bike to another, but 2 others that we need to mention are stack and reach, and they're the most effective way of knowing at a glance whether or not a frame is going to fit you or not. All other parameters vary, but stack and reach will give you the precise information you need to know if a frame is going to work for you or not. If you want to find them on your current bike, then you can either Google your bike's geometry charts, and they're likely to be listed on there, or we need to go back to our door. We then measure from the centre of the bottom bracket axle back to the door, and from the bottom bracket axle then down to the floor, and this gives us the origin of our reach and stack measurements. We can then measure from the top of the head tube down to the floor and subtract the bottom bracket height to give us our stack. We then measure from the head tube back to the door and then subtract the bottom bracket values, and that gives us our reach. Once you've got that, you can then objectively compare your bike size to any other bike on the market. And to be honest with you, once you start doing that, it's actually really quite illuminating to see how sizes, even from the same manufacturer, vary. There we go then, really simple measurements that allow you to dial the fit of your bike in. We've actually got really effective guides already on GCN that tell you exactly how to get fitted up for a bike. So why not click up here to find the right saddle height, or click down here to work out the reach to the handlebars. Before we go to either though, do make sure you subscribe to GCN. How far can you get it out? That's the question.